Hello, friends, and welcome to Adventures in Pixieland. My name's Amy, and I'm an ordained minister, and we are in Bible study. We are in the King James Version of the Bible. We are in the Gospel according to St. Luke, and we are in chapter 5. We're picking up where we left off yesterday when we got Peter and James and John, although right now Peter's name is still Simon. And I was talking about how he knew that these were his people. Now remember, Andrew, the brother of Simon, was a follower of John the Baptist, who was the cousin of Jesus who had just baptized him. So, there was, besides, sometimes you just know. And we've all been through that. You've entered that new school, you entered that new work. You found your clique and you know it when things are working in the way they should. But we're picking up where we left off at verse 12, and we're going until verse 28 today. So, and it came to pass, when he was in a certain city, behold, a man full of leprosy, who seeing Jesus fell on his face, and besought him, saying, Lord, if thou wilt, thou can makest me clean. Like he somehow knew Jesus could do that. And he put forth his hand and touched him, saying, I will, be thou clean. And immediately the leprosy departed from him. And he charged him to tell no man, but go and shew thyself to the priests, and offer for thy cleansing, according as Moses commanded, for a testimony unto them. But so much the more went there a fame abroad of him, and a great multitudes came together to hear, and to be healed by him of their infirmities. So they need, by trying to be humble about what the skill sets are, infamy began to grow. And he withdrew himself into the wilderness and prayed. I get it. Selective peopling. And it came to pass on a certain day, as he was teaching, that there were Pharisees and doctors of the law sitting by, which were come out of every town of Galilee and Judea and Jerusalem, and the power of the Lord was present to heal them. And behold, men brought in a bed a man which was taken with a palsy, and they sought means to bring him in and to lay him before him. Now, that's just a palsy is like Bell's palsy, when one part of your face, it was working and the other side of your face is like droopy. So like one part of him, they wouldn't have some control over. But the paralysis thing, I do believe, is from a genetic disease called Tay-Sachs. That it is unique to this particular people's, the way that, other genetic diseases can be unique to certain genetic code. I mean, like sickle cell, right? Or, that's the first one that came to mind. Because that's genetic. There's nothing, that's got big medical consequences, and it's genetic. So true with Tay-Sachs, because it made them paralyzed. My family's got a whole bunch of weird genetics. So, I'm familiar with that situation. A lot of people have, various diseases that are hidden in their genetic code, and it hits a certain age, or they get to be, a certain lifestyle pattern, and then it triggers. And when they could not find by what way they might bring him in because of the multitude, they went upon the housetop and let him down through the tiling with his couch in the midst before Jesus. So his stretcher, they lowered his stretcher down through a roof it's not, as I've said with all the rest of the Gospels, it's not a built-up roof like we have. It's not really necessarily thatched. Tiling might be more accurate. I mean, but I'd have to specifically go look. It's just an easy roof to take apart and put back together, is what I'm trying to say. So they lowered him down. And when he saw their faith, he said unto him, Man, thy sins are forgiven thee. And the scribes and the Pharisees begin to reason, saying, Who is this which speaketh blasphemies? Who can forgive sins but God alone? And that is very strictly in the Torah that way. I've actually had some people comment to me before when reading the Old Testament. They came back and they with careful. This makes it sound like Jesus committed blasphemy. And I'm like, that is exactly the crime they committed him of. It's not valid because he's the Son of God, but that's the crime he was accused of. He was murdered because he was innocent, and I believe he was innocent because I believe he is the Messiah, and I think they replaced some of the words of God with man-made tradition, which Jesus later does accuse them of. And in that process, right, they forgot to leave a space for how they would know their Messiah. They were assuming it was going to be with violence to overthrow Rome, and that's just not how God intended. And the scribes and the Pharisees began to reason, saying, Who is this which speaketh blasphemies? Who can forgive sins but God alone? But when Jesus perceived their thoughts, he answering, he said unto them, What ye reason in your hearts? Whether it is easy to say, Thy sins be forgiven thee, or to say, Rise up and walk. But that ye may know that the Son of Man hath the power upon earth to forgive sins. He said unto the sick of palsy, I say unto thee, Arise, and take up thy couch, and go into thine house. And immediately he rose up before them, and took up that whereon he lay, and departed to his own house, glorifying God. And they were all amazed, and they glorified God, and were filled with fear, saying, We have seen strange things today. And after these things he went forth and saw a publican named Levi sitting at the receipt of custom, and said unto him, Follow me. This will be Matthew. And he left all, rose up, and followed him. So now we enter our Matthew character, who, interesting with Matthew, right? The tax person, but not the person in charge of money. And I'm going to be guessing it's probably because more like money is his vice, so he needs to abstain from that portion of things. And I do believe he was a very intensive chronicler, because that's another skill set that you would have with needing to, do taxes of any kind, handle money, keep a cash register drawer. There's a way, and if you've had any jobs where you've had to do those things, then you know that you need to have a system and a method, because a way to do it quickly. And he too would have been able to take those skills and apply that organizational pattern to somewhere else. I hope you'll join me tomorrow, friends, where we will pick up where we left off with verse 29, and we will be going to verse 39, so completing Matthew chapter 5. Until then.